Hello world, I'm Colleen and welcome to my glamorous life. For those that may not know who I am, I'm that almost 50-year-old mom with 3 teenagers, and I usually give you helpful tips, tricks, and honest reviews, but today it's Wednesday, which means Weird History and Makeup Day. So today I'm taking Jeffree Star's blood sugar and we're going to delve into a Valentine's Day look while discussing the Vamire of New Orleans. Let's get to it. So we're going to talk about this mysterious case of this Jacques Saint-Germain. Was he a vampire? Don't know. So while we're doing that, I'm going to work on the first several Valentine's Day looks that we're going to do this month, since it is the month of love. Just starting off with a little bit of Visart eye primer, because I'm going to do a red eyeshadow, and never ever do red without doing a primer underneath it. It will guaranteed stain your eyelids. Anyhow, okay, so if you could think that a vampire was going to exist somewhere in society, like this century or last century, do you think of Transylvania? Or are you into Vampire Diaries and all that, and you think of New Orleans? Well, that's where this story is centered. So according to lore, if you will, sometime in the early 1900s, this mysterious man arrived in New Orleans, and he went by the name of Jacques Saint-Germain. Totally handsome, really refined, elegant, bit curious, but he became a hit in New Orleans society, okay? This guy made it big. He was very impressive, shall we say, especially with the women. He was always seen with a woman on his arms. So I'm going to use, since we're talking vampires, Jeffree Star's blood sugar palette, and I'm going to start off with a little bit of Tongue Pop. That's this one here. Anyhow, so he delighted in just strolling around the French Quarter with a woman on his arms. He always had a woman on his arms. He threw elaborate parties, and they were like super anticipated. They were like the height of whatever. It's like fine wine, everything, you know, and he would entertain the guests with talks about stories of France, Italy, Africa, and even Egypt. But see, when he would talk about these things, he was very eloquent, and he literally, he spoke of these events that happened that he was telling them about hundreds of years ago, as though he was there firsthand, like he was like sitting next to Cleopatra or something, which the guests were always enthralled by. They thought it was neat. Now, not long after he arrived, he claimed he was a direct descendant of the Comte de Saint-Germain. And we'll talk about him in a little bit, but he was a really close friend of Louis XV in the 18th century. And there's some hinky stuff about him that you'll see where this is going in a little bit. The most eagle-eyed of his guests noticed that the portrait of Saint-Germain that he had, that Jacques had, portrait of the Comte that he had, was never, he was about 40 in the picture, and Jacques never looked more than 40 no matter how long they knew him, so they were about the same age. Kind of getting interesting here, huh? Why were they the same age? Okay. So rumors started to spread that Jacques may actually be the Comte de Saint-Germain. That he created some sort of something that made him immortal and ageless. And he liked this. He liked that people were thinking this. He thought that was pretty great. You know, his catered parties were so celebrated that he just watched everybody eat, that he never ate. Though he was sitting drinking from bottles that were allegedly full of wine. Allegedly. And we'll get to that in a minute too. though there was some talk around town about him. In good fun, and we're just kind of poking around that, yeah, maybe the guy's a vampire, you know, he's drinking blood and not wine. Now, in New Orleans, it was like, yeah, whatever. They thought it was kind of neat, you know, to pretend that this guy's a vampire, you know, the history of the city and all of that. So one night, he actually had a guest in his bed, or at least his bedroom. It was a woman who was rumored to have been a prostitute. Unfortunately for Saint Germain, she jumped out of his window. Now, initially they thought that she had just fallen, but in fact, it was figured out that she'd actually jumped out of his room. So jumped out of this, you know, the second story of the house. And they were there to, you know, there were people around that were able to tend to her needs, and they took her to the hospital because she survived the fall. But she is ranting that Saint Germain had actually bitten her on the neck. And she's screaming and sobbing out her story and carrying on that she was only able to escape because somebody had knocked loudly on his door, and it distracted him. So she was able to jump out the window. She was taken to a hospital, and the police were thinking, you know, she's totally delusional. They all know Saint Germain. He's so respected and everything. There's no way. So the police concluded that there should be a natural explanation. So they were confident that he would come and explain, you know, this is what really happened. I didn't do anything. She's just wacky, right? That's what they assumed. They assumed he would show up and say that. But he never showed up the next morning. Did not show up. Nope. Saint Germain, in fact, vanished into thin air. Nobody knows where he went or anything. He just, you know, the woman jumped out the window and ranted that he was a vampire, and he disappeared. So they still don't know what happened. There's legends that suggest that when the police broke into the house to search for him and evidence and what have you, they were kind of like a little leery about what they might encounter. So they opened on the second floor, and they found a series of open but corked wine bottles, and they're full of human blood. And remember, he was always seen at the dinner parties not eating but drinking wine, or so we thought. So now they're thinking, okay, the legend is he was actually drinking blood at these dinner parties, so maybe he really was a vampire. Now, they never did see him again. He disappeared just as mysteriously as he showed up. And everybody was absolutely shocked. They felt fooled, betrayed, a little disappointed that the whole thing had come to an end, too. They kind of missed having a vampire in their midst. Well, this gets into where did this person come from, right? So the original Comte de Saint Germain, I can say that, he, you know, they were questioning, you know, did this guy actually come to America and, you know, hide out and then try and pretend he was his own descendant? Is that, you know, this guy really a vampire? Well, the original Comte de Saint Germain was from the 18th century, so the 1700s, right? And there's a lot of parallels with the Jacques Saint Germain in New Orleans in the 1900s and this guy. Okay, so basically, there's no birth record for this guy. They don't know where he was born or anything. And I'm supposed to be doing my makeup while I'm talking. I'm getting excited about this. This is kind of neat. So I'm using the Fenty Beauty Pro Filt'r powder foundation. I love this stuff. The color is just bang on and it stays put. There's some disagreement as to where this guy was from. You know, there's some theories that he was born in Moritz in Bohemia at the end of the 17th century, that he was the youngest son of Prince Franz Leopold of Transylvania and the Princess Charlotte Amalia of Hesse-Waldfried. But, you know, nobody knew, you know, because of how messed up things were at the time. Nobody knows for sure. But there was also speculation that he was an infant put in the care of the Medici family. Okay. Which that could explain his education and all that. But there's no like real definitive, this is where this guy's from. It's all speculation. So there's still more strange stories because he refused to give his true name except to Louis XV. But, you know, he must be protecting some house of royalty. That's the theory anyways, that he's protecting a royal house by not telling anybody. But he also claimed that he had had conversations with Cleopatra and the Queen of Sheba and had professed to be present during like many historical milestones over the years, which took place over like 500 years of history. So this guy is like, yeah, I'm awesome. I've been around forever, but I'm not going to tell you who I am. So here we are, this guy, same guy, right? That's the theory, is that the original Comte de Saint-Germain, who was with Louis XV, was this Jacques in New Orleans. Could be. I don't know. So he was always able to like come up with funds. Like if he needed money, he had money, but nobody knew where he got it because he didn't work or anything. Though there's some theory that he might have been a spy, that he was under suspicion of being a spy. But there's just no knowing. You know, he was supposed to be ambidextrous, which meant he could use either hand. He was a linguist, so he knew multiple languages. He could speak many different languages. And he was an alchemist. This is where that vampire thing comes in. He was an alchemist, and alchemists were known for, you know, trying to create the Philosopher's Stone, you know, to help keep them alive. Manipulating gold, you know, metal into gold and stones into diamonds and stuff. I don't know. That was the theory at the time. I don't know. So anyway, so now you've got this guy in King Louis XV's court, and I guess he got around Europe. He was allegedly in Russia and England and Germany, and I mean, he was all over. Though he supposedly died in like 1789-ish, I think. There's all these theories about him, and, you know, did he really die in 1789? Or did he really find, through his alchemy, the elixir of life? And then subsequently now, he's able to come back in the 1900s and claim to be this Jacques Saint-Germain in New Orleans. You know? Is this guy immortal? I don't know. Apparently somebody else showed up in the 70s claiming to be him. Now, I've seen the picture. I don't think the picture's that close, but I'll put it up here for you to decide. You know, is he reincarnated? Is he back? Is he, I mean, did he discover the secret to life? I don't know. But this is one of those weird things in history where it's hard to know the truth. You know, we have all this circumstantial evidence that this guy could be the same guy from the 1700s, because nobody knew where he came from then. And he knew all this weird stuff that he shouldn't have known because he would have had to have been there to know it. And then you've got, you know, he would have had to have been there to know it. And then you've got this guy coming up in the early 20th century going, yeah, my name's Jacques. Hi, I'm related to this guy. And so here we have it. Here's our first Valentine's Day look, little red eyeshadow, little red lipstick. And this, once again, is the Blood Sugar palette by Jeffree Star. And this is Unicorn Blood for lipstick covered with this beaded glass lip gloss. Yeah, Jacques Saint Germain. Has he been around for years? Is he still here? Did the woman who jumped out the window just have one too many that night? Or was she really bitten by a vampire? Did he really drink blood? Case of weird history where there really isn't an explanation. So what'll it be next week? Put a comment down below if you can think of something that you want to see. I'd be happy to research it for you. Until then, I'll see you later. Ta-ta.